What happens when the internet creates a trade proposal so wild, so controversial, that it forces you to actually think about the unthinkable? When does a mock trade between bitter rivals stop being a joke and start being a legitimate debate? Welcome back, folks. It's Wednesday, February 5th, 2026, and today we're going to talk about one of those internet insanities that you look at, laugh, then think about for a minute and say, wait, does this actually make sense? A mock trade proposal is going viral on social media and has reached the specialized press. It involves the two biggest rivals in hockey history, the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it involves the two brightest jewels on each side. The proposal is simple and brutal. William Nylander comes to Montreal. Ivan Demidov goes to Toronto. I know. The first reaction is to scream never. But the article by Charlie McAfee raises interesting points about why this would be fascinating and terrifying for both sides. In this video, we're going to play with this hypothetical scenario. We're going to analyze the absurd numbers that young Demidov is already putting up: 46 points in 56 games. The financial impact that would make the Leafs consider this, opening up $10 million in cap space, and the dream vision of having Nylander receiving passes from Lane Hutson. Is it likely? No. Is it fun to debate? Absolutely. Let's draw out the scenario that went viral. The Toronto Maple Leafs, looking for a retool and needing cap space, would send their star William Nylander to us. In return, the Montreal Canadiens would send rookie sensation Ivan Demidov and a second-round pick. This isn't a trade of bottom-roster players like the Plekanec deal years ago. This is a franchise-altering deal. This is trading the guaranteed present for the brilliant future. Why would Montreal do this? Because William Nylander is a monster. The article says, Montreal would gain one of the most established forwards in the world. Imagine the top six: Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. Nylander, Doc, Lane if he's healthy, and on the blue line, Lane Hutson. The text teases. Can you imagine the chemistry with Lane Hutson? It would be a team ready to compete for the top of the Atlantic right now. Nylander brings that clutch factor, though the text notes he disappears in the playoffs, which is a debate for another day. Having Nylander would be telling the league, the rebuild is over. We want the cup. Picture this. Nylander on the wing with Nick Suzuki at center and Cole Caulfield on the other side. That's an elite first line. That's the kind of offensive firepower that scores 4 or 5 goals a game. That's the kind of star power that makes you a legitimate Stanley Cup contender immediately. And the connection with Lane Hutson would be electric. Hutson's vision and passing ability, combined with Nylander's finishing touch, that's highlight reel material every single night. Why would Toronto do this? Why would they agree to let go of a fan favorite? First, money. Nylander makes over $11 million. Demidov makes less than $1 million on his entry-level contract. This trade would open up $10 million in cap space for the Leafs to sign defensemen, goaltenders, or whatever they need. Second, the Demidov phenomenon. The kid's numbers are real. In 56 games, he's put up 46 points, 12 goals, 34 assists, playing just 15 minutes and 25 seconds per game. That's elite production for a 20-year-old with limited ice time. For Toronto, putting Demidov alongside Austin Matthews would guarantee a competitive window for another 10 years. The article mentions a young three-headed movement with Matthew Knies and Easton Cowan. That's the future Toronto would be buying. That's the long-term security they'd be acquiring. Now for the question for us, Habs fans. Would you trade Ivan Demidov? The article warns. They'd be losing one of the most exciting prospects in years. Demidov has a potential to be better than Nylander. He's cheaper, and he's 8 years younger. Trading him now would accelerate the process, but it might cut the team's ceiling in the future. And seeing Demidov shine in a Leafs jersey, that would be eternal torture. The backlash from the fan base would be deafening if Kent Hughes did this. Here's my take. This trade is fascinating as a thought experiment, but it should never happen. Ivan Demidov represents everything Montreal has been building toward. He's a homegrown superstar. He's the player who's supposed to lead this franchise for the next 15 years. Yes, William Nylander is elite. Yes, he'd make Montreal better right now. But you don't trade the future for the present when the future is this bright. You don't give up on a potential generational talent for a very good player who's already 28 years old. And there's the rivalry factor. Can you imagine the nightmare scenario where Demidov becomes a superstar in Toronto, where he leads the Leafs to a Stanley Cup, where he becomes the face of the franchise that Montreal fans hate most? That would be unbearable. That would haunt Kent Hughes for the rest of his career. That would be a franchise-defining mistake that fans would never forgive. The fact that someone is suggesting Demidov is worth a one-for-one trade with Nylander shows just how valuable he is. It's a testament to his talent, his production, and his potential. But it's also a reminder that we need to protect our jewels. Nylander is great, but Demidov could be legendary. And you don't trade legendary for great, especially not to your biggest rival. Here's the bottom line. Habs Nation, this trade is wild for a reason. Rivals rarely help each other like this. The Leafs don't want to see Nylander score against them 4 times a year. We don't want to see Demidov become a legend in Toronto. But it's proof of our kid's value. The fact that someone would suggest he's worth a one-for-one swap with Nylander shows we have a diamond in our hands. My verdict? Keep Demidov. The future is ours. What do you think, folks? Would you trade Ivan Demidov for William Nylander straight up? Is the guaranteed production of Nylander worth more than the potential of Demidov? Could you stomach watching Demidov become a superstar for the Toronto Maple Leafs? How much does the rivalry factor into this decision? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and smash that like button, because even though this trade will never happen, it's a fascinating window into how valuable Ivan Demidov has become, and we're going to be covering his development every step of the way as he becomes the superstar we all know he can be.